Oh, Ubisoft, you had everything lined up for you this year. You could have done a new Splinter Cell, a new Rayman, a new Watch Dogs. Just went down the list of the great games you can make in your catalog, and it would have been a great press conference. However, this one was not great, and I'll go into why here. But I think Ubisoft's press conferences was one of the weaker ones of this entire E3. In fact, I think it's one of Ubisoft's weaker press conferences in general. But we'll see why. First of all, they started out in what I consider to be one of the worst ways I can think of starting one of these press conferences. A way that I thought we were sort of past by now, which is a musical performance. Now, people aren't at these conferences for music. People go to these conferences for the press reveals. They want to see the game trailers. They want to see the new stuff you've been working on. Instead, they did like a 10-minute, or I'm not sure, it was really long, presentation of Assassin's Creed music live with an orchestra. But it was like, it took way too long, I think. Like, it sounded fine, and they're going on concert apparently soon. They're going on tour, so you can look up where they're going and that type of stuff with the Assassin's Creed orchestra. But I thought that this musical number was too long. I just wanted to get to the game reveals. My friends started tuning out and looking at other stuff while waiting for it to get into the real show. It was just kind of boring. And then they said, this is the one show we all came to E3 to see. Of course, everyone goes for the Ubisoft show because they have the best show every year. I mean, to be fair, they started off with a pretty good game reveal at the start, which is Watch Dogs Legion, their new Watch Dogs that's been rumored and leaked for quite a while now. And basically, all the leaks you heard about it, if you've heard them, were true. Watch Dogs Legion, most of the leaks were true, I should say. Watch Dogs Legion's core mechanic is very interesting in my opinion. It's very unique in that it lets you play as literally any NPC in the entire game world. How this works is the Legion is basically the group that everyone is in. That's what Legion means. I don't know if that's the name of the group, but it's signifying that everyone who you play as is part of one unifying group fighting against oppression. And your goal is to try and get new people, NPCs and stuff like that, into your group, indoctrinate them in a way, or just get them to join your cause by talking to them, by telling them about what's been going on, and by playing through their origin mission. Because every NPC has their own traits and their own backstory and their own origin mission that you can play through, making all of them completely unique from each other. So you could play as that one guy working at the supermarket, or as an old grandma feeding birds in the park. All these are playable characters who can do all sorts of the Watch Dogs type stuff, the shooting and the hacking and all that stuff. Everyone is playable, which is a really cool mechanic. The one thing I'm worried about in this case is how attached would you be to the character you're playing if you could literally play as any character? Is there going to be a main character? Is there going to be a main villain? I'm sure there's going to be some main villains, but I'm worried that people won't get that attached with the characters they're playing. I hope it turns out to be a good game rather than just an interesting concept, if you know what I mean. Regardless though, it seems like a unique idea. Also, there's permadeath for all of your characters. So the reason why the whole crew mechanic getting new NPCs works is because if you're playing as an NPC and you die, then you have to pick another member from the group that you recruited within your group to play as from there on. And that's basically the way it goes. I can immediately see this, and my brother and my friends all said the same thing. We immediately saw the speedrun opportunities for people to get in there and try to do no death runs through the game. I wonder how hard that would be to keep any character that you recruit from dying. They went into a lot of detail about this specific mechanic, and they showed off quite a lot of gameplay after the show. So I feel like they showed off a good amount here, and I'm pretty happy with their Watch Dogs Legion presentation. This was one of their two big game showcases for their E3 conference. Yeah, I think this was pretty good. They said that it would be available on March 6th, 2020, so this is one of their 2020 games, not releasing this year, on Xbox One, PS4, Google Stadia, and PC. So if you don't know, Ubisoft has a good partnership with Google right now for Google Stadia. They're moving basically all their games, including new ones, to Stadia. So they're going to talk about it with all of their games that they talk about here in the conference, but basically all of them are going to Stadia, that type of stuff. After that, Rob McElhenney appeared to talk about a new TV show for some reason. Like, I don't know what Ubisoft is doing at their conference here, because they're doing all sorts of weird non-video game based stuff. Like, technically this TV show is about video games, but it's a comedy called Mythic Quest, which is about a game studio who created the biggest game ever in their world that has over 11 billion users, called Mythic Quest. It's an MMO, and it's like a comedy skit about trying to manage that MMO, trying to keep it to be successful while managing corporate or like office life. I don't know why this is here though. I felt this should just show up on Netflix and people could check it out, or actually this is Apple TV Plus. This is an Apple TV Plus show, which is even weirder because I don't know how many people use that. So they had like music and TV in here instead of just video games. And then they just had an update to a well-known video game. This one was one people expected to be here because they do this every year. Rainbow Six Siege. They have a new update called Operation Phantom Sight, which is starting tomorrow. There's a new operator called Walter. He looks sort of like a James Bond type guy with a nice mustache. He looks like a stereotypical suburban dad, but also James Bond. I thought that was pretty funny. And they said something about Clutch Royale, which I immediately thought was a battle royale, but then again, they didn't show a battle royale in this trailer. And they didn't really describe what it meant, so I'm not 100% sure. I apologize, I'm just doing this off my head and my notes. I didn't really look up extra stuff afterwards. But for those who are playing Siege, it's new, I believe. It's new content for you guys to enjoy. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot for you to do in that game. Another update was after that, which was a little bit strange, one that wasn't that expected. But it's not that exciting either, in my opinion. I don't know. It's Brawlhalla. If you've heard of Brawlhalla, it's kind of like the off-brand Smash Bros. Game that's available on PC and Switch and other things. It's more cartoony. It's more simple, and I think a little bit more competitive in a way, since every character has pretty organized mechanics that you have to use to fight each other. So it's more skill-based. But they're adding some new characters from Adventure Time, the TV show. The cartoon. Finn and Jake, along with other characters, they showed Princess Bubblegum, and they're also adding a new buddy game mode, which I don't know exactly what that is, but it's probably in the name, a buddy game mode, and a new stage called Tree Fort. Okay? Sure, I mean, why not? Once again, I don't think this is something that you really need to show off in something like this. Then again, Nintendo does show off their Smash Bros. Updates in their Direct, so I guess it's fine. It just, I don't see that as such a huge announcement, you know? It's just a little collab with another cartoon. After that, they had an actual, full-length discussion about Ghost Recon Breakpoint, a game that was revealed before, but they went into more detail about it. They showed a new cinematic trailer. Unfortunately, that wasn't any gameplay in it, but it was a pretty cool trailer. And you kind of know what to expect with the Ghost Recon Wildlands type gameplay. That's what Breakpoint basically is. They had John Bernthal, the actor from the game, appear, who is playing the main villain, which is part of I believe the Wolves? Something like that. I think that's the main villains, the Wolves. And people already heard a lot about this game, so I feel like people already knew a lot of this stuff, but here you're facing the Wolves, which is basically an entire army led by someone who was a part of your team, the Ghost Recon team, previously. So they have the same training, and they're very skilled, and hopefully they're actually a difficult enemy to beat. They said you can register for the beta now, but they gave a couple announcements that they never gave before, such as there is AI teammates now for solo players to bring that in. So you don't have to have 3 friends to actually do anything anymore. You can actually have 3 NPC teammates working together with you. There's also Ghost Recon Delta Company, which is not a game, as you might think by the name right there. It's actually a fan group that you can join to share your fan art and get some stuff back from it. I wasn't paying too much attention to that because I don't care. They give a release date, which is October 4th, though a beta will be live on September 5th, which you can register now for a chance to be in it. It's a closed beta. And here's the kicker, and this is what people might expect. It's a live service game. This is another Ubisoft live service game. Think of The Division, that type of stuff. They say there's going to be updates for years to come with new content, many surprises inspired by the community. And they gave one example of an update they're going to do right away, which is a Terminator pack, I believe. Like, they didn't say the name of it, but it was like a really brief tease, but it looked like it was Terminator. Which is funny, because Terminator was appearing in some earlier conferences too, so it's kind of appearing everywhere in a way. I don't know what's up with people in Terminator right now, but... You notice a little bit of a trend here, though. Ubisoft likes their live service games. Rainbow Six Siege, Brawlhalla, Ghost Recon, they're just... most of the reveals here are updates to previous games that they run as a live service, which I think really brings down this whole presentation. After that, they talked about a new mobile RPG on mobile phones. Tom Clancy's Elite Squad, which is a mobile game featuring main characters from a lot of Tom Clancy games. Now, here is the kicker. I feel like this was horrible for a lot of people. Not because the game itself looked horrible. I mean, it's probably not going to be fantastic, but let's be real. But because there were so many teases that Sam Fisher would come back for a new game, people were thinking there'd be a new Splinter Cell. We'll finally have a new Splinter Cell, a full-fledged single-player Splinter Cell game after all these years. No. In this entire conference, this year was the only time Sam Fisher appeared. And Tom Clancy's Elite Squad as one of the main characters in this mobile game. This must have been such a kick in the butt for people who wanted a new Splinter Cell game. Jeez. I mean, I never actually played a Splinter Cell game, so I don't really hold much water one way or the other. Like, I don't have too much of an opinion here. But I still, like, can see how much it would suck to have this expectation, to have rumors from people, like, people with credentials, saying that Sam Fisher would appear, Tom Clancy, Splinter Cell would make some sort of appearance, and for it to be just in this mobile game. That just sucks. That's really crappy. After that, something else that's really crappy. Just Dance 10. Oh boy, everyone buys Just Dance. Well, to be fair, there is an audience for it. I'm not that audience, and I think a lot of the people watching aren't that audience. In fact, I think the people who buy Just Dance buy it every year anyway. But they do have to always do this presentation to let people know they're doing Just Dance. And it's coming out on the Wii. They're still making Wii games here. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ubisoft is the only company still making consistent a Wii game series every single year. Just Dance. It's still doing it. Jeez. Along with the Wii, it's also coming to Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and Google Stadia. I'm not quite sure how they work on all these platforms, but it's Just Dance. It's the same every year, just with some new songs. And they showed off a couple of the songs that'll be in it. But the weird thing was, they did a second musical number here. And it was much worse than the first one. And I didn't even like the first one because I'm not here for the music. But this wasn't just a musical number. It was a dance routine for Just Dance 10. They had a really weird skit, and then these guys just came on and started dancing for a long time, and me and my friends were sitting there like... really confused. We were just really confused, okay? I don't know what's going on here. It makes no sense to me. This is not good. All you need to do is tell us Just Dance 10 is coming, and then move on. You don't need to do all this stuff every year, okay? After Just Dance and that whole sequence of events, they talked about some more live service stuff. Or updates for games, I should say. With For Honor, which they briefly went over and showed off a little teaser. Their new expansion, Shadows of the Hitokori. I'm not quite sure what will be in this expansion, but it looks like it's quite substantial for people who play For Honor. It'll probably have some new characters to play as. It'll be available June 27th, so it's fairly soon for those who are looking forward to it. So you don't have to wait that long. And they quickly moved on from there to what I consider the next actually decent thing of this conference after Watch Dogs 3. It takes this long to get to another thing I consider to be really interesting. And that is Rainbow Six Quarantine. What you might think, is this an expansion of the Rainbow Six Siege? No. Rainbow Six Quarantine is a new Rainbow Six game that's a completely different style, and I quite like this idea. It's coming early 2020, and instead of the sort of competitive shooter that Rainbow Six Siege is, Quarantine is a 3-player, tactical, cooperative game, where you're playing as a shooter squad, facing off against an unknown parasite, and you have to basically weigh your risks when you enter the quarantine zone because you're in constant danger of being killed when you're there. They didn't go off into too many details about it, and they didn't show any gameplay. It was just a teaser trailer, or a reveal trailer. But it does look cool, and I like this way more than I like Siege as an idea, because I'm not a fan of competitive games, but I do love a good co-op experience, and this seems like it could bring that. I assume they'll reveal more details about this game when it gets closer, since it's not coming until 2020. After that, they had another live service game update, The Division 2. Which, people expected this, they're going to keep on updating The Division 2, it's a fairly new game. But Terry Spire from Red Storm came to talk about the game, and they said that this week, from June 13th to 16th, it is 100% free to try. So basically like a free weekend sort of thing. And the main thing they wanted to talk about here was the first big content update, where it's moving towards not just saving Washington, D.C., but the entire nation of America. So they talk about episode 1, DC Outskirts. So basically, they progress through these different episodes, 1, 2, 3, etc. And how we slowly progress further and further outside of just plain Washington, D.C. So episode 1 is DC Outskirts, Expeditions, which you start heading out of D.C. to save the outside area. You spearhead an attack on a presidential compound to catch a traitor. And then you hunt a surviving outcast leader. And then the final edition is Kenley College, which is a new gameplay experience that takes exploration, investigation, and logic to discover the fate of a convoy gone dark. They didn't show any gameplay of this stuff, but they gave the general concept behind it, so hopefully it turns out to be good. They talked about episode 2 after that, which is coming later this year in the fall, which will bring the Pentagon to the game, which has fallen to an organization called the Black Tusks. Keep in mind, I've never played the Division 2, so I'm not quite sure what the different groups are in the game, what the different areas look like. I've only played the Division 1. Maybe one day I'll play the Division 2, but it brings the Pentagon, which has fallen to the Black Tusks. There's a secret, the secrets of the Pentagon are about to be thrown out to the open, and you have to secure what lies within the walls of this last castle. That's what they said. There's also a second raid coming in the fall, bringing intense 8-player action. And then there's episode 3, the last of year 1 updates, which they didn't say exactly when this will happen, but it's in year 1, so you can kind of expect the time frame. It'll come sometime after episode 2 in the first year. And the whole idea of this one is that there's one man who has the power to bring down society as we know it, so it's time to do a massive manhunt. Coming early 2020. Actually, they did give a release date, early 2020. Okay, well, these updates seem to be pretty good for people who are still playing the Division 2, which I'm sure there's a lot. I've heard that it fixes a lot of the problems with the Division 1, and people who have played it have generally enjoyed it, so this is somewhat positive. Though this is very much predicted for this presentation anyway, it's not a surprise. What was a surprise, I believe, was a new movie that they announced, which they're going to all forms of media. They got a TV show, they got musical performances, they got a dance number, now they got a movie called The Division. This movie, as you might expect, is about the Division, that sort of storyline. And they didn't go into much detail about it, but they said it will come to Netflix sometime. Once again, they didn't go into many details. I don't think I have a date, and they didn't show much about the movie itself. It was just an announcement. Which, I guess, another video game movie. Who wants to bet that it won't be good? I'm going to be happy if it's better than the Sonic movie. Who knows? It could turn out to be really good all of a sudden, though. I don't know. I enjoyed the Detective Pikachu movie, so I think it's possible for video game movies to be, at the very least, fun. Maybe not like the best quality, but fun. Maybe this will be fun. I don't know. We'll see. They moved on to a new presenter who was a little bit tired sounding? I don't know. She didn't seem to be that enthusiastic, which makes sense considering what she was announcing. Uplay Plus, a new Ubisoft subscription service for Ubisoft games, launching with over 100 games for $14.99 per month. And if you sign up today, you get free access in September at launch, September 2019, and it will be available on Stadia in 2020. Now, people have speculated on this for quite a while. People have said that Ubisoft is capable of doing this type of thing. Ubisoft has a lot of games in their catalog. If they did a subscription service, people who are fans of their style could pay a lower price than just for one individual game. Like, if people were to buy all the games separately, it would cost a ton, but $15 per month? Like, you could get a couple months of that and then play through all of Ubisoft games if you wanted to. So, it's a better deal than buying all of their games separately. It's not my type of thing, though. I'm not a big fan of Ubisoft's type of games. I feel like they're all somewhat similar to each other. Like, there's some standouts in there. There's some great games that I love playing, but it's kind of like a mixed bag. It's either really good or kind of meh for Ubisoft games, so. But it does seem like a good deal for people who are into that type of stuff, so yeah, there's a new game subscription service for people who are into that thing. I don't know if it's a good price or not. I don't know how to compare it to other services, but I feel like it might be a little bit much for just Ubisoft's games, but there's 100+ games and there's a pretty large catalog, so hopefully it's a good deal. I don't know. Then they had a new reveal, which is quite rare for Ubisoft, of a different type of IP, one that they haven't really done before, and one that the team seemed to be pretty passionate about, which I was happy to see. Roller Champions. This is a game that was leaked ahead of time, so once again, not exactly a surprise, though that's not Ubisoft's fault. But this is a fantasy sports type game that really reminded me of Rocket League, in the fact that it's fast-paced, has to do with scoring goals. You're trying to steal balls from the other team. You're going very fast on rollerblades around an arena. And really it was the graphic style in the arena that reminded me of Rocket League, since it's a similar sort of, if you know what I mean, like ovular shape, and you're circling around it trying to score. And you can kind of go on the walls too, like you can on Rocket League, though not as high. It's a little bit more realistic than Rocket League, because you're an actual person on skates. And you can customize your person, from what I saw in the trailer. They showed off some gameplay in the trailer, so it was pretty. I thought this was a pretty good reveal here. And it's a skill-based PvP sports game where players roll up to glory, they said. It'll be available on Uplay for an E3 demo from June 10th to 14th, so I assume everyone can access the demo from June 10th to 14th, which would be right now, so if you want to try that out, you can. And they showed off a whole new gameplay trailer at the end, which was pretty substantial, which I liked. I don't know if this will be my type of game, though. I really do love Rocket League. I think Rocket League is such a fun game that has a great learning curve that people of any skill level can enjoy. It's to be seen if Roller Champions can match that perfect level of fun with competitiveness. Because I'm not a fan of competitive games generally, unless I really love the gameplay. I loved Rocket League's gameplay, so we'll have to see if Roller Champions is actually fun. Right now, I have low expectations, and hopefully they'll be exceeded. Finally, Yves Guillemot, I probably pronounced that incorrectly, Yves Guillemot, the Ubisoft CEO. Let me just dig my grave even further. Yves Guillemot. He thanked us all for our love before Marc-Alexis Cote, the senior producer of Ubisoft Quebec, appeared to show off their final game of this presentation, which is a new game from the Assassin's Creed creators called Gods and Monsters. They didn't reveal much about this game. I don't think there's any gameplay in here. It was more of just a reveal trailer. But this is a game coming on February 25th, 2020. And I thought this trailer was really pretty. Like the game's graphics, I love. They reminded me of a bit of Breath of the Wild, and people in the comments on the YouTube trailer were saying the same thing. It's like Greek of the Wild. But it's based off of Greek legends and stuff like that, and it looks cool. I can see why they saved it for last, just a little tease of a new game at the very end. I feel like they might have been better to show off Rainbow Six Quarantine at the end and did a full, big trailer for that one though. I feel like people would be more excited about that rather than a quick teaser. But I thought this was an alright reveal, especially compared to the rest of the conference, which was bad. Okay, so speaking of the rest of the conference, let me sum up what was going on around here. So throughout this, Ubisoft for some reason kept on throwing in random non-game related things, or at least like not games. So they did music, they did movies, they did TV show, they did a Uplay Plus, and they did the Just Dance number for some reason. They had a mobile game instead of the Splinter Cell game people wanted. They did a lot of updates to previous games that were already released for their live services. Barely anything was new. The only really good stuff here, I think, was Rainbow Six Quarantine. Orla Champions is a maybe. I don't know if that's good. Uplay Plus, once again, that's more of a meh thing. It's like, sure, you can get it if you want it. I think Gods and Monsters look pretty cool, so for stuff that appeals to me, Gods and Monsters, Rainbow Six Quarantine, and Watch Dogs Legion is probably the best thing of the whole presentation. Other than that, there wasn't that much that was good at all. I think the pacing wasn't that great. I think the reveals weren't that great. I think the whole presentation wasn't that great. However, since I gave EA Play a rating of D-, I cannot, in good health, give this a lower rating than EA Play, because at the very least, this did not take 3.5 hours of nothing. There were more reveals in this than in EA Play, so instead of giving this one a D-, I have to give it a D. And maybe I should have given EA Plays an F, but I don't want to give anything an F this first year I'm doing this E3 stuff, just so there's room to go down in future years. This is more of a year that I can use as a comparison for the future. But yeah, I'm giving this a D. It was not a good show at all. And to be honest, I don't think this E3 has been that great, other than Microsoft's. I think Microsoft's show was quite good. Who knows, maybe Square Enix can bring this back a little bit. And Nintendo also, we'll see. Those are the only two left that I'm going to talk about. I'm skipping Kind of Fun Games and also limited run games, because both of those are sort of niche stuff. Kind of Funny is just basically a rundown of tons of indie games, and Limited Run is just certain games coming to physical copies for a limited amount of time. Those are more niche and I don't feel a need to make a video on them, but I will do Square Enix later on today, and I'll do Nintendo tomorrow on Wednesday. We'll see. Hopefully they're both good, and hopefully you guys are enjoying this E3 coverage. I hope to see you all on the next video.